Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Black Performance Project. And we're going to do our roll call. Today is our Oscar show, our post-Oscar show. We're going to be going over our predictions, who was right, who was wrong. And today we have a full team. We've got everyone back. So if everyone can go around and just say hi, the camera will pan to you and we'll be able to have you do an intro. So I'm Nicole Hodges Persley, Artistic Director, KC Melting Pot Theater. And I'm your host, along with
Baron Kelly. How are you?
Harvey Williams.
Louis Morrow.
Great. We've got the whole team here today. And we've got Louis Morrow, who we know is our rotating chair. And if you've watched our episodes before, you've seen Louis or Mel. And coming to a screen near you, we'll have other guests coming on the show this season. So we watched the Oscars. We are not surprised and surprised in some areas. So we thought we'd just hang out and talk to you a little bit about what we're feeling. I'm kind of happy, kind of underwhelmed. I'm really happy about Anthony Hopkins with Best Actor, but I also would have been happy for it to go to Chadwick Boseman. So how did you all feel after you had the results of the awards? Anybody shocked? Surprised, or we pretty much spot on?
My biggest bone to pick was them changing the order, and so they made the Best Actor, the anchor of the show, and they made this big, hoopla, this huge fuss about, oh man, Anthony Hopkins made, a what do you call it, a upset victory or whatnot, and to me, obviously. If we should pay any respect to Chadwick Boseman's legacy, I think we should all agree he wouldn't have cared. He wouldn't have cared. I don't think he would have. This is someone who could have gotten far more attention and accolades in his last year than and far more attention had he wanted that. You know what I mean? And so I think that would have been something for his family, something for all of us who's fans of him and whatnot. But they should have just kept the show as it was, and then let whomever won, but doing this huge grand, thing of, oh man, they're putting it at the end, and then, oh wow, Anthony Hopkins wasn't upset, but that steals from Anthony Hopkins' performance as well, because he's a legend, he's earned it, he's a great actor. We don't need to tarnish his performance because we wanted to possibly, we wanted to cheer on, Chadwick Boseman in not to say his performance wasn't worthy, but there was a sentimental push behind it as well. Otherwise, why would one have been upset at the other? They was both fantastic performances.
Right.
When you do things like that, then you set up the storylines the next day. Anthony Hopkins in an upset.
Right.
Well, an upset is when an underdog. This is Anthony Hopkins. You know what I mean? And Chadwick Boseman did a great job. You know what I mean? And if he would have won it, it would have been well deserved. But I hate being set up for the old rigmarole. I don't like the dance. I don't like all that.
Yeah. I think I agree, and I always thought that after his death, he deserves to get accolades, but it's not the same playing field as just running the regular Oscar routine and getting an award. And so I always felt that he should have been held separate, and his life recognized more than just this one movie. Coming into being the focus. Like Louis said, he could care less about that. I'm sure winning an award, he was happy he got to do some things before he left here. I have no problem. And in fact, I do believe that we each kind of suggested, having viewed the father, that Anthony Hopkins very well could have won that award, and he did. And I don't feel it was an upset whatsoever. And I remember us talking about his performance and how just, it transcended, just going through some motion. And so I was happy. I was happy with that. Definitely happy. Two things I was not happy with. and what I would call upsets. And both of them are nomad land.
Mm.
I'm sorry. Maybe I don't have the brain cells to process what I watched, but what I watched, I mean, was just didn't hit it for me. Not to be best picture, and as great as she is, best actress. And I mean, she did some good work, but I just don't see what her breakthrough was and the performance on
Well, before we segue to Nomadland, I agree wholeheartedly. And if we could just, if we finish up a little bit about the Best Actor category, which I, wholeheartedly agree with Lewis, is I think it cheapens the work of both actors to call it an upset. And then secondly, I do agree with the idea that Soderbergh rearranged the order of the show to kind of have this big moment. But I think it also cheapens the value of the award to kind of already be able to hedge your bets and restructure a whole show on the expectation that he was going to win. And I think that was also in relationship to, the Golden Globe or the BAFTA being a predictor of the Oscar outcome. But if we're going to take sentimentality out of it, and it's a huge loss to the acting world generally, Chadwick Boseman, we will just imagine, similar to someone like a Heath Ledger, we will imagine his talent for years to come because he was a wonderful artist. But that is to say, like Lewis said, it's Anthony Hopkins. I mean, I think, any young actor being nominated within that category would have the expectation of losing. It's like being nominated with Meryl Streep or being nominated with Viola Davis. I think the honor of being nominated within a category of greats is that if you do beat them, it has to be a performance that is just pretty otherworldly, and I think that's a hard pill for folks to analyze, to say, was, Chadwick Boseman's performance on the equal scale. Obviously it was of some scale of relevance because it was nominated, but I felt that Hopkins, and we talked about that, he deserved the award. I mean, it was just phenomenal.
The level of craft, he deserved that award. That's just it. I mean, craft, I mean, there's no comparison. I mean, and even though he's been acting for 65 years or whatever, you know what I'm saying? There was no comparison. I think, I stopped watching the Oscars years ago. What they did with Heath Ledger, when he received the Oscar posthumously, I totally agree wholeheartedly with Lewis that it turned into this whole other thing about this. The script was almost flipped, of trying to make this seem like it was an upset, and because all this sentimentality was going toward Boseman. It should have been, I felt, a separate category. I felt, with everything that's been going on in this country right now, it should have just have been, if that would have been a nice thing to do.
They could have honored him. They could have honored him. They could have honored him. They could have had someone. They could have had people speak about him. They could have honored him if that's what they wanted to do. All that other stuff was
right. That's true.
And I think also too is that, I mean, then, when you look at the In Memoriam, and they had Angela Bassett kind of.
My cousin was on there. My cousin was in there. Everybody texted me. Paula Kelly, she was on there.
Wow, that's amazing. And she was an actress.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to. I don't know her work, but
she's in tons of things. Yeah.
When I see it, yeah. Well, one thing about that though is, then do we have to give an award for everyone who dies tragically? I mean, I think the idea that his career was still so young, I could see it if you had someone who had a very long career in the industry, but we wouldn't do a posthumous kind of special award for any of these, younger actors who have passed away, unfortunately, in untimely deaths. I don't think that's what the award show is about. And I think that they did give him the longest amount of time in the In Memoriam. He got the last card, if you will, on the In Memoriam tribute. So
I think they could have honored him. Even though that's not what the award show is about, it is somewhat. Grammys did this huge performance for an unrelated individual in Kobe Bryant. He has nothing to do with the Grammys,
yeah,
but that
true.
day of. So the award shows do this all the time. I think the thing with Chadwick Boseman is, and I think especially within the Black community, or just if you want to look at Hollywood as a whole, we don't have that many. We don't have that many. We don't. Yeah, we have a slew of Black actors, but we don't have that many. We had Denzel for well, if you go back to Sidney Poitier, then then we had another one. Then what they say in the 80s, it was only Whoopi Goldberg and Eddie Murphy, you know what I mean? And then if you go into the 90s, Wesley Snipes popped up here and there, but you're talking about superstars. You've got Will Smith, then you've got, of course, Denzel, and you got Will Smith that comes through here. Jamie Foxx, then he blew up really. We don't have that many that's just universally accepted as that's a great actor. We put them aside into the Black movies. We even talk that way amongst ourselves. I'm watching Black movies today or whatever. And I think there was a lot of hope for Chadwick Boseman, and he delivered with each role. Regardless of how I feel about the movie, I was never blown away by a lot. I wasn't a huge fan of 42. I had a bone to pick with Black Panther, and I thought Michael B. Jordan was just as fantastic, if not more. But there was a lot of hope in Chadwick Boseman, and so it was that type of loss. So I think if they felt so compelled to do, because his peers and the Hollywood community was moved and saddened, they could have honored him. But doing this whole twisty about and saying that he was the favorite, why? I never understood. I watched Ma Rainey's. I love August Wilson. I love the play. I liked the movie, but why? I don't understand why he was the favorite if you're being objective and looking at the performances. I think that was just, I would hate to step out into a play and before I even give a performance, someone says Lewis is going to kill every single one of his cast. He's going to be the reason this show is good. I would hate that type of pressure on me, and I just don't think that that's what he would have wanted. I just thought it was it turned into a circus.
Yeah.
And
I think it was definitely true. They could have, but I think Soderbergh was a new producer for the Oscars, and to my knowledge, he hadn't produced it previously as a team. And I mean, maybe this was aligning with his interests and wanting to highlight the work of Black artists who are not underrepresented generally and don't have the same presence that they had throughout this award ceremony. He had largely Black women being the kind of principal host of the people that introduced most of the awards. Really one Black male, Don Cheadle. But then we had Questlove as the music director and Lil Rel.
Yeah, it was a Black show. It was a Black show. They had to keep that there. The people of color, give them the prominence. Even though it drew back some, it was still very obvious that, it's about people of color. It's about Black, and fortunately, some other things happened this year too with some of the other winners that played that out too. And so I can see why he wanted to do that, to keep it up front.
Well, I think another thing is too is us, our show is called the Black Performance Project, and obviously this is the Oscars, this is the Super Bowl of acting. But I think specifically, we are doing the show because we do want to talk specifically about Black performance, and not just a kind of generic people of color. And the ways that Hollywood is using it right now, I think, is a way to kind of create this pool of collective history, as if there is no real specificity of our struggles and what we're suffering with in this moment, and what we have and continue to suffer as American citizens. So I like saying that it was Black centered, not necessarily about it, but I think that was a cheap way, in my view, to do it. It's kind of surface level engagement with the problem.
Very safe.
Calling Halle Berry and Angela Bassett some of our greatest, actors, and particularly Angela Bassett, who still doesn't have material worthy of her talent. If you ask me, 911, I'm glad that she has a series that can, pay her bills, and she does a wonderful job. But she's an extraordinary talent who should be in the same position as a Meryl Streep or a Viola Davis, and never really has found, to me, the property since What's Love Got to Do with It to really match the kind of enormity of her talent. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think that, I think that that was a great attempt to be politically correct, if that is still a thing in this moment, because I think people are ignoring it a lot of what does that mean at all.
Yeah.
But let's now segue back to Nomadland. Harvey says was not really feeling it. I don't know if any of us ever got to really figure out why this film now, a moment about a predominantly white transient community directed by a Chinese director, graduate of Juilliard, she's Tisch School of the Arts, I think, and Chloe Zhao, she went to Mount Holyoke undergrad. I think she's first gen, or she moved here when she was, I think, a teenager. But yeah, I mean, why this film? I tried to watch it all the way through. I think I have like about 30 more minutes to still finish of it. I had to watch it in increments. And the only thing that I could think of why it was nominated is that it addresses homelessness in America and thinks about like, what is it like to be without a home, or they say, I'm not homeless, I'm without a house. That's one of the lines that the character has in the movie. The only thing I could think of is that she doesn't really have a lot of lines. She's mostly acting in the gap while other actors are acting and have most of the dialogue. She is responding. So it's almost as if she's conveying emotion the whole film about what she's thinking without words. And so when I tried to say, what is extraordinary about this performance? Am I not being objective? I still wasn't necessarily moved as much as I tried to be. I really did try to get on board here, but just never quite clicked for me.
You know, and I'm not putting it down at all. I'm honestly saying I probably am not at the level where I can recognize all the worth of a film. I know I can't. And there were tremendous things in there and scenery and all that stuff that comes into play. But when I think about a movie, I think about how I felt when I started watching it when it was over, what happened, what happened with the people more than what I saw, or how the sun set and things like that. And that's what I didn't feel. I didn't feel story. I didn't even feel homelessness, because this was more like a gypsy movie. This was a choice. Yeah, right. They didn't want to be within four walls. They decided they had to be in the open. And that's fine, and that's beautiful and transcendent and all that. But for me, it just wasn't. It didn't touch me. And she was the same character in that movie as she was at the awards. I swear. If you watch the movie, go watch the awards. Run them back. She was the same person, especially when she howled.
To her personality of what I've been able to see and interviews and things like that. Did anyone else attempt to watch it? Yeah.
It wasn't for me. I didn't like it.
I tell you back, I did a Broadway show with her, and she and Strathern were in it. There were only about 7 of us in the cast, and everybody was pretty cool. I mean, I know she used to talk about her husband all the time, one of the Coen brothers that she's married to, but and she was good in the play. But I mean, I didn't see Nomadland, so I can't speak on it. I mean, what did she win? Did she win before, prior to this?
3 billboards.
Yeah.
She did. Okay.
That was that was a fantastic performance.
Yeah.
I loved her.
Right.
Billboards was great.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but I guess for me, I think it's really interesting at a moment where you have some of the highest quote unquote representation of a diverse group of people of color. You have Asian American, Asian nominees, Asian American, you have African American nominees, you have African diasporic Africans from the UK that are nominated, and Daniel Kaluuya. And we have a best picture that's centered in whiteness. It's just a really interesting recentering. And then, as much as I was very happy for Chloe Zhao as, only second female director in history to ever receive the Oscar. Is the first time 2 women have been nominated in the same category. I think it's great, but I guess for me, I'm wondering how Chloe Zhao self-presents. I mean, is she presenting herself as this is a first Asian win as a director? Is she making any claims about representation? Or, you know, does she have some different views where that's not something she's necessarily focusing on? She's focusing on, you know, in all of her press, it was really about the story of Nomadland. And that's kind of where she redirected focus, even though there's lots of projections about her being the first woman of color to ever win the directing award. So,
you know, so here's my thing, and I know what the climate is currently, but as an artist, I'm the first one to say, write, create, and do whatever it is that you're moved to do. There's a ton of white people out here with great ideas at this point in time that they want to write something, you know, I don't want to say for them, but it's just not going to strike a note with me. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give a damn. And that's fine, you know, and I don't think that a great movie or whatever should be dismissed because it doesn't speak to the time, because the white guilt is kicking in, you know what I mean? But this is what really aggravates me, and I think that this is true about Hollywood, TV, and everything. There's a divide between white art and black art, or black art and everything else. And it's like, yeah, that's great for what it is when it's black art. And I'll give you an example, is how Schitt's Creek just dominated at the Emmys, and Insecure. I think Insecure, and we talked about this, Nicole, it's the best thing I've watched on TV in a long time. I think it's an incredible show. I think it is great. It's the best thing that I've watched. And so either Dan Levy gets up there and pays, you know, some type of, you know, acknowledgement to it. And it's like, yeah, Insecure is good, but Schitt's Creek. That's the mentality. Yeah, Judas and the Black Messiah is a beautiful film, and it's important and it's relevant, but come on, that's Frances McDormand, that's Nomadland. It's a shift in thinking of what we do is, man, what you really did this year was really, really good, but come on, you know, come on, that's it, that's Anthony Hopkins. That's not to throw him under the bus. I just said I think, you know, he deserved it, but I'm saying it's this mindset, it's this mentality that really irks me. And so when you have all of this representation, and then she walks away with it with a film that I assure you, I'm just going to throw an arbitrary number out there. 98% of Black people don't give a fuck about. It's just like, stop the song and dance. Stop playing around. You should have just nominated all the white movies that you wanted and you like, because let's be honest. You guys didn't care. You put us up there. That's why they put Daniel Kaluuya in the same category as say it again. Lakeith Stanfield. Yeah. That's why they put him in the same one. He should have been nominated as a lead, period. But he wasn't. Right. But now they both. It's a bunch of little things that they think goes over our head because we got the people we love. We got Angela Bassett and Viola Davis and Questlove up there and do. I'm just not falling for it no more.
Yeah,
I don't care about Nomadland. Yeah, it wasn't nothing to me, and I don't think her performance was that incredible. She was great in 3 Billboards, but clearly to me, I feel like we're gonna get a lot of her. She's got Macbeth coming up. There's another nomination. That's the train we're on, and it just gets old because Viola, she's not gonna win one. Angela Bassett's not gonna win one. Halle Berry won one 20 years ago. That's it. We're done now. We did what we were supposed to do. Denzel's not gonna win another one. You know, it's aggravating.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I was, you know, it's a great way to kind of drill down into some of the stuff I was gesturing towards, is that I think this moment asks us to ask real questions about what do we value about our Black artists, and how are we going to create alternative sources of creating awards, because obviously the NAACP awards don't have the same material reward that comes with being nominated for an Oscar.
Because they nominate everything. Everyone gets nominated, even movies that we collectively say that was whack. You know, when Flex Alexander got nominated for his
critical criteria. Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I think that's the thing, right? Is that everybody who does this work as an actor or director wants to be competing with actually equivalent peers. You don't want to be, in the same area as, Jimmy John's, movie that he made last week. Then he, threw it together and it was, on Amazon Prime the next day.
So you pissed Lewis off.
Yeah, we did. Lewis had a commercial break, everyone, so he'll be right back. And
but you know
that's
what?
the exciting part of the show.
Along those lines, and I hate to, get kind of political or whatever with this. Just like every other institution, the Oscar program, the Oscar format is a traditional system that was started not with us in mind, but is continuing and now is trying to address us in its format and the way it's done. And like a lot of other things, like all these reforms that need to be done to programs and educational things and prisons, sometimes you got to look at dismantling what's there, reformatting it so that it does encompass everyone, and you can get a much truer sense of what people are really interested in and what's of value. So, the Oscars has always been a tradition. It's like the Super Bowl or something, but you got to reimagine everything. Everything
Well,
has
I mean, it's built on racism, right? I mean, this is where, that's where no one wants to get to. It's the institution itself has always excluded Black and brown people. And when it has chosen to admit us, I mean, at early, iterations, we came in the back.
Hattie McDaniel's 1939, sitting by the kitchen. That's right.
Come in through the kitchen. And so I think that's important for us to remember, Harvey, the history of the awards itself. It's trying to put new ideas into old structures, and it doesn't hold. And I think what Lewis is saying, what about Frances McDormand? What about Anthony Hopkins? It has to recenter itself. And the award show is a white-centered award show. That's the norm of it, and everything else is an exception. And
it's the standard. Yeah, exactly. It's centered, but it's and to add to that, it is the standard. It is the standard. That's why when we list, the great American novels, you're stretched to find Black artists in there. That's when they talk about the great American plays. That's why they're talking about Death of the Salesman. That's why they're talking about Long Day Journey into the Night. That's why they're talking about what is it, Streetcar Named Desire. And that's why they're talking about those things. And it's here we are 70 years later after those things that was last written or whatnot, and they're still, it's like, yes, it's still the standard. It doesn't matter. It's still the standard, and it's across the board. It's beyond art. It just goes across the board. And I don't want to be mean or dismiss, because I like a lot of things that's created by white people. That's white centered. I watch those movies. I've watched them. I've watched those shows, and I say, and sometimes it's cringy, but the thing is, it's the dance around it. It's saying, it's inviting us in. What did it was in the bullet and the ballot speech that Malcolm X said, I'm not going to call myself a diner because I'm sitting at the table. I'm not going to be a diner until I'm actually eating. We're in the building, we're on stage, but we're not getting any of the awards. Don't lie to me. Don't trick me. And and I don't know who the voting panel is. I don't know how it works, but to me, there's something strange about it. It's something really, really, really strange about this climate. There wasn't just a ton of movies that was, out. That's why you kept seeing the same. I mean, it's 6 or 7 movies that represented pretty much everything,
I think it reflects a lot of anxiety, though, about whiteness and where it is being stretched and strained here, in the States right now. I mean, anxieties that we're seeing social, culturally, politically are about losing privilege and losing capacity. And people don't know how to process that. So they have to put things back together in a way that they recognize. And similarly, what you were saying, Lewis, I think is important is thinking about what are the systems, because they're not transparent. They're always talking about, well, we're going to get new folks. Issa Rae has joined the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences. So does that mean now she's going to help vote on all of the Black films? Does that mean she helps create the roster? Because the processes for nomination or for the voting is a lot more transparent in some place like maybe Screen Actors Guild than it is actually in the Academy. And I think it's similar to the Tonys, that when standard equals whiteness, when universal is always assumed to be whiteness and everything else is something else, I think that is, what has to be questioned, because we know that that's kind of what it translates as.
And also you have this dynamic. For as many people like we get on and we say we need more representation and we need to be there, you've got the other side that's just as adamant about why all this blackness, why all this people of color talk.
That's right.
We just watch a movie. Can't we just? And that's the dynamic you have. And it is a business. And so just like any other business, you want everybody's money. And so probably the thing that's keeping blackness in play is the fact that Black people spend money going to movies.
Of course.
So let's give them something. Let's go with Wakanda, and let's go with superheroes, and let's also go with Andra Day and what she did. And like you said, I hope the ship hasn't sailed. I got a funny feeling about the ship sailing against Ma Rainey. What's her name? I'm not coming.
Viola Davis.
I got a funny feeling.
That the rain
I hope she can get into something, and there's something great coming for her. I mean, I'm just hoping that
she'll be in something great again, Mr. Williams. She'll be in something great again and something that we adore again. But like, it has the ship sailed on what what they deem to be worthy. She'll be in something. I mean, look what she got nominated for. Her, her 6-minute speech in Doubt, which she was great in. She was great.
She will continue to be fabulous.
But didn't she win for Fences though?
She won for Doubt and she won for Fences. Yeah. So I mean, I think one of the things though that we have to ask is, like, do we we talked about the standards at NAACP, how we love to see those, a committee put together that is of actors and craftsmen who are going to nominate pieces that are competitive and that are actually looking outside of kind of the generic displays of Black film that may, kind of maybe potentially need to go through maybe an independent film circuit first or do other things before they're, of a worthy acting craft nomination. Some things it's just for entertainment. It's not for us to study craft. And I think that NAACP doesn't necessarily have a committee that is distinguishing between the craft and art of acting and directing versus just entertainment value. The popular vote loved to see this film. I don't think it's the same focus on excellence and craft in the industry.
I don't know that the Oscars are though. I mean, that's what my argument would be. I don't.
I mean, maybe for some, but not for all. Is that what, or you think just period?
Or period, just period. I don't think that this is a huge thing about. I don't think it's a huge thing of I mean, with as many movies that come out every year, as many actors there are. Hell, I can list a ton of white actors that should be nominated or should have won that never won. But we see the same slew of actors that continuously pop up. It's almost like they don't have the energy to invest in discovering, another. Yeah, it's just like, well, Leo. We know Leo. He's been around since 97. It's Leo. It's Tom Hanks. It's that boy. No matter Daniel Day-Lewis, who's great, right? He's a great actor. But we know if Daniel Day-Lewis does something, he get nominated. Daniel Day-Lewis, he's gonna get nominated. It don't matter what the hell he does. If he does something tomorrow, because he's retired, I think, or whatever. But if he does something, he's gonna get nominated. It doesn't matter if he just stares at the screen and gives one line, "I'm Daniel." Boom. Oh,
Well, the Oscars is a franchise. The Oscars is a franchise. It's big business. There's money attached to just being associated with it. There's all the perks that come with it. And so it's when I always say the business. Remember what business is about. Remember what business is about in terms of almost anything, unless you're doing charity work 100%. Business is about making money.
M-O-N-E-Y.
Charities are about making money. Matter of fact, but business is business. When you put an ad on the Grammys, when you put an ad during the Super Bowl, when you put an ad during the Academy Awards, okay, now we're talking. Does Daniel Day-Lewis get some ads going? Hell yes. He needs to be nominated. He did a film, let's get it up there. And sometimes, unfortunately, that's probably, more than likely the way it goes, sometimes.
And Daniel Day-Lewis is great.
Other times it may work, may be true, but you gotta be skeptical.
He is great.
He is great, and that that I wasn't diminishing what he's doing. I'm just using like for Daniel Day-Lewis is great. I'm just saying there's other, it's like there are other people to consider here, y'all, and it's not diminishing him. I think he's incredible. I think Tom Hanks is incredible. Anthony Hopkins, I'm a huge fan of. The list goes on and on. But are they saying the same thing about ours? Are they saying the same thing about ours? You know what I mean? Who also, I can go and list a bunch of Black actors who I think are just as incredible. Are they saying that about us? Because that's how we validate ourselves, right? If we're going to be critics or artists, we have to say, look, we know Anthony Hopkins' work. We know Daniel Day-Lewis. We know Tom Hanks. We have to. Otherwise, we don't know nothing at all. If we just talk about Denzel, that's their one,
No, we have to show, that.
But they don't know us.
But that's double consciousness, right? I mean, when you're not possessing the power or the privilege, I don't have to know you. And that's always been the standpoint. You have to know me because you want what I'm giving. And that is, the whole kind of double consciousness idea is that we have to see ourselves the way that we see ourselves. And we also have to see ourselves the way that we are seen. And that burden to prove oneself as worthy enough to receive an Oscar nomination has been the journey, is why people are always lifting up, EGOT winner. See, this is a very excellent Black actor, or we have tons of excellent Black actors who are not, they don't have an E or a G or a O, they don't have any of those. I mean, for example, look at someone like a Whoopi Goldberg, or look at someone, that has all of these credentials, but yet Hollywood has decided that they're not going to work anymore. That it was really Tyler Perry who opened up other opportunities for Whoopi Goldberg to work again, because she didn't perform her identity in a way that was suitable for Hollywood, particular after, I would say it was after the Ted Danson event that, a lot of things shifted for her with the Friars Club roast. And when she was dating Ted Danson, she was one of the hottest stars, had hosted the Oscars many times. And then all of a sudden it just
goes in blackface. You didn't?
Yes, when Ted Danson roasted her at the Friars Club and he was in blackface, she never really recovered from that moment. And she's a formidable actor. So there is no justice in any of it to me, because I think if you go back to the system, like Harvey said, it was never for us. But as far as your point, Lewis, about the excellence, I think, that could also be part of the brainwashing. Are we now believing that what is nominated is actually dictating taste and excellence? Because we're afraid to say, hey, that actually was terrible. Like what we're saying about Nomadland, not excellent, not a compelling story, not anything that is taking up the American imaginary right now as far as pressing issues that are hurting society. Not anything super worthy of our attention. Not in the middle of a pandemic, or not in the middle of a convergence of a racial anti-Black violent crime and what's happening in the community. I think, why should we turn our attention to Nomadland?
And how many Black people were in Nomadland?
None. I couldn't hardly spot any.
If you go to like the IMDb, or you go to like if you Google it and go to like the cast, you got to keep scrolling and scrolling. I'm sure there was a bystander or something.
Yeah, John, like back in the back of the trailer number 7, and
But it
he
had
had like,
Francis.
yeah. I mean, so I just, yeah, I mean, but that is to say, segueing back to some of the winners, I'm thinking of anything standing out that helps advance the narrative about Black performance. I mean, we did have Soul and Jean-Baptiste, win as far as the composer, but as far as the narrative of Soul being written by white writers, and
I didn't know that. I did not know that. And I knew there was something. I watched it, and I liked it, but there was a disconnect there. And I just found out that night that was written by. I assumed it was written by some Black writers.
Wasn't he a blob for the large portion
like that
of the movie?
So
he was a soul. Like he was a soul for the majority of the movie, right? So we didn't get to see his
He's a magical Negro, but
it turned out to be all this extraterrestrial things going on.
I just think in animated features we have to either be animals or spirits.
Literally, there's a list. If you go down, it is. They are afraid. And honestly, I don't think they set out. And this is even worse. I don't think they sit down and say, "Man, we cannot show their Black body." I don't think they say that, but that's what they do. And so there is the illness right there. That's scary to me, that you have Princess and the Frog, which was this huge, that was the first movie I took my daughter to go see. And she was a frog for literally, if you chop up the minute, she was a frog. She was, and it's like, wow, y'all, like, but then they do it again. Then they do it again. And then they do it again. And then you get Soul. And it's like, man, they got Jamie Foxx. And well, but he's a soul, literally, and he's helping Tina Fey or doing something for Tina Fey. And it's like, I understand it's a cartoon, it's for kids, it's supposed to, but do y'all see, it's like almost like, but do y'all see what you're doing though? Do you see the pattern? So when y'all sat down, it never crossed your mind?
Yeah, I don't think it was for kids, honestly.
Well, I mean, also it's jazz, right? But this is another quote unquote American art form that gets deracialized when it moves into the mainstream.
La La Land.
Right? So you want to take jazz, but jazz is not Black. Jazz is for everyone. Jazz isn't a music of dissent coming out of African-American communities. It's a music for everyone. And
Elvis has left the building.
Again, with Little Richard's ideas.
It's in the elevator. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's that.
You all are so uplifting.
Yep. Well,
that's what I was thinking. I said, God, I was cynical today. I was busy today. I wasn't able to prepare. I'm sorry.
So not prepared, Louis. Well, I mean, I think this is important, though. It's not cynical. I think that it's okay to tell the truth about our feelings about the work. It's okay because we are artists and we do this every day. And this is how we feel. We have to process not only our desire to create art that helps Black communities understand, possibilities of being and processing all the violence in our communities, but we also have to deal with the violence of exclusion, the violence of being ignored, the violence of working really hard to make a beautiful thing and then not being recognized, and then when we are recognized for things that are not necessarily of our highest art to ourselves, where we have to, does, what's her name, who was the lead in A Princess and the Frog, Broadway actress?
Nika Nani Rose.
Yes. Does this beautiful actress, one of the most talented women, in the business, does she turn down the opportunity to be the first Black princess? Absolutely not. It's an amazing accomplishment. Does she deserve the full screen time of her character as a beautiful princess? Yes, she deserves it, and I think we deserve to feel how we feel without having to justify it or fear censorship or lack of jobs or opportunities because we want people to do better.
Yeah, it's feedback. It's honest feedback. And that's what will help make things better when you know how people feel. that gives you an opportunity to address shortcomings.
How hard is it to hire one Black consultant on Soul to make sure that there is some engagement with the African American community?
I
How
was available.
Hard, obviously.
would you say you were available, Harvey?
I was available.
I mean, I think this delusion when we have like, it's not a moment where you have to walk to a library to open up an encyclopedia to find a contact. This is a moment where you can literally use Google like a magic 8-ball and find information. You know, Black physicists, you could put that in. Oh, woo, a whole list. You know, Black curators around the world. Whoa, it pops up. And you have like access to information. So I think it's just, to me, I just no longer feel comfortable accepting the laziness of the scholarship of the craft. I mean, they don't care about me, but I'm just saying.
That's a good way of putting it.
I'm just saying, you know, there's tons of specialists out here who are willing to come and work with you at any time. So saying that you don't know where we are is just really bizarre to me.
Yeah.
But thinking of other winners, before we start to segue, we had Best Documentary Feature. My Octopus Teacher, never saw that.
I want to watch that.
I do plan to watch it because I love watching the documentary feature. Best International Feature, we talked about Another Round from Denmark.
Oh, Mads Mikkelsen, he's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it. That's what I was saying. It was weird. Kept you into it. So I don't know.
Harvey, you finished it. Baron, you finished it?
Yeah.
Another Round. I didn't finish it, but I will go back and circle back to watch
I've
it.
known about Mads Mikkelsen for a long time. I mean, a Danish actor, and he started out actually as a ballet dancer. He was my friend's next door neighbor. And so I've known about him for a long time. Good for him.
No, that's great. Yeah.
Nicole, we also called, I remember when we were talking about this stuff, we also called Best Supporting Actress.
Yes.
We called that one.
Did we say that?
Yeah, I believe
yes,
we
we
did.
did for Minari. I'm so sorry. We sure did.
Yeah, Best Supporting Actress.
Yes, of course. I texted you guys. I said, we
Yes.
won.
Yes, Yoon Jung, who is you know, a veteran actress and has been acting forever. So that was super exciting. I hope she gets a series on HBO, or, you know, she's
down to earth. Love it. Love it.
Very cool actress. We talked about Chloe Zhao. Best cinematography went to Mank. As we know, was the kind of Orson Welles black and white feature. The Father was best adapted screenplay. Best costume design is places where we can kind of segue into more Black performance work. We had best costume design was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Best makeup and hairstyling, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And then Fight for You from Judas and the Black Messiah went to her and her writing team for best original song. Yeah. So those are three places that we don't have any new experience in best song. We won, African American people have won best original song in the past. For hair and makeup and costume design, I think it's important because we have such hard times on sets getting Black hair and makeup people that have the literacy to do Black hair on set and makeup. And then, you know, similarly for costume design, to have, you know, a multiracial team, a primarily white costume designer, but who is a veteran of the field and, you know, really does a lot of due diligence.
And Roth?
Yeah, and Roth. So, yeah, so I thought those were important areas for us to think about the other side of Black production and having access in the industry. So what is that for our audience? I mean, what do you think are some of the takeaways? I would say if we looked at the demographic of Black viewers to the Oscars, I don't think those numbers are very high. And so next show, when we come back, I'd love to kind of, you know, maybe have a little segment where we talk about the value of award shows, you know, vis-a-vis the kind of boon of Black cultural production we have right now, and people don't care about award shows. Like Lewis said, they're like, hey, we love the show, we watch it, our friends watch it, we enjoy it, and we don't care whether it gets any of these nominations until it does, and then people are excited. But what do you think are the takeaways for folks that care about Black performance, about the Oscars and these award shows? I mean, I don't think that they care whether or not they have Black viewership. It's just not the target audience. But I mean, what is the takeaway from this moment? Do you feel like any victory?
You know what? I keep translating it and saying it's like the Super Bowl or something. A month from now, a lot of people won't even remember what won the Academy Award this year. And a year from now, I couldn't remember what won Best Picture last year, really, when I thought about it. And so I think you can attach importance to how long something lasts in somebody's head, how much value there is in recall that, oh yeah, I remember that. That was great. As opposed to, oh God, what was it?
Well, I think it has a material value for some people that have the award versus others. I think historically, the value of being an Oscar nominee or an Oscar winner in African American actors has been middle to nothing. When you think about people who have won who have not had a lot of shift in their careers, Jamie Foxx, for Ray, and now I hope they're paying him very well to do this new sitcom he's doing on Netflix, which with David Alan Grier, another brilliant actor. To me, they're in properties that are not as interesting as their talent, but everyone has their choice. Louis Gossett Jr., Halle Berry, Monique. I mean, the list goes on of winners whose work after the Oscar win doesn't really catch up with the level of excellence of the Oscar. I mean, Cuba Gooding Jr. So the shadow of the Oscar in the Black community doesn't seem to have a lot of material value as far as awarding other opportunities, creating first look deals, creating production companies that turn the Oscar into gold as it kind of spins on. But I think for Reese Witherspoon, for Julia Roberts, for others, it has produced great opportunity.
For them and their agents.
Yeah, so I don't know that letting that be the be all end all of aspiration as an actor of color to say, wow, one day I'll be an Oscar winner. To what end? I mean, is there any material reward that comes with that besides them announcing it when you're on a talk show? Like Oscar Award nominated actress Regina King. I mean, is she going to get the same type of material reward as non-Black actors get when they win the award, having production deals and things like that? So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all these people I'm talking about have these amazing development deals that I have never seen, so there's that. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think it was a good night for Black artists, but it could have been better. But I think better for what? To what end? As Lewis said, what, is this show even worthy of our discussion or consideration at this point? So Lewis is, we're about to.
Talking to his agent.
Would you say he's talking to his agent right now?
That's his agent right now.
Yes. And when we record this, you all, sometimes you can't see the 4 squares of us, but things are happening in boxes that you don't know.
He just turned it up.
He's camera off right now. So I think we are just about at our hour, everyone. And, I think we feel pretty confident about our predictions and what we said. Andrew Day, I think, was someone that we thought really might have had a shot, but it looks
maybe you can let somebody NAACP watch a couple of our episodes and say, you need to have a panel with us that we can be able to help you judge.
Well, I think we should offer it. I think you have not because you asked not. I think we could say, hey, we'd love to help change the scale of the award show.
That's
because
right.
I think that when people really, you know, I had a colleague mention that it would be great if the NAACP, you know, invited other people of color to the award shows, which they do now. You know, they do nominate other people for the awards, but I think that scaling and creating the value of the award in Black communities where people were kind of tuning into their TV shows and like Oscar night and making it something very valuable, I think that would start changing the game a little bit. But I'm hoping that we create new awards and that we can build some capital around those awards so that there is some material result for the actors. I mean, you hope that it gets them more money and more opportunities to create art. At least that's what I hope for them. So, but everyone, we are almost at the end of our season, and we hope that you have enjoyed hanging out with us and listening to our crazy conversations about Black performance. We will be back with a couple episodes in the next few weeks as we segue out into summer, and we'll be back in August with a whole new slate of shows. So stay tuned. I think we're going to do a very curious episode about Them, the new Lena Waithe produced pilot that is on Prime Video. There's lots to discuss there.
It's on Prime Video?
Prime Video, yes.
No. Them and what else?
I think we're going to do Them, and then we will see if we have any more time with everyone's scheduled to film anything else. But I think we will probably be closing out the season with Them, and we wanted to make sure we delivered this post-Oscars episode to you all as promised. But we will drop this on Friday, and we look forward to circling back. And everyone sign off. I'm Nicole Hodges Persley.
Nicole, Harvey, and Louis.
Bye-bye.
Louis is on a really important call with his agent. He will be back in this episode. And with that, thank you for watching.
A couple of these episodes. Let them
They will see it, and maybe the NAACP will call us because we are big supporters, and we even mentioned Du Bois in our episodes, and who we know was integral to the founding of the NAACP.
And I paid my dues today.
Yes, and we pay our NAACP dues. We're proud card-carrying members. With that, thank you all for watching the Black Performance Project. We will see you next show. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.